we got a question from Ryan D, and he asks, how many man-hours goes into the design of a new disc model? And how has this figure and the process involved changed since the inception of Innova?
I have no idea what the figure is, but the design process can happen overnight, while I'm sleeping. It could be, and I go, oh, I got it. And I go over to our CAD CAM guys and design it up. And 6-7 weeks later, we got the part, and we can shoot it after that. But sometimes it's something that percolates for a long time. I have an idea of what I want a disc to do, but I don't know exactly how to get that done.
Nice.
Oh, Macbeth, eat your heart out. That.
I hope I can manage that.
The sign says 390, but this is the long position, so it's actually 400 and something.
Which disc took the longest that's in production right now in terms of design in your head to come to fruition?
Well, it wasn't the design that took so long. It was the making the mold work. It was the overmolds. The design of the overmolds was pretty easy, but of the disc and the overmold. But to make the overmold work, that took a long time.
So Andy K asks, hi Dave, please explain the aerodynamics behind VTech and compare that with a regular mold.
Okay, there's 3 advantages in a VTech over a regular mold. One is there's more meat on the rim, which for putters and mid-ranges is a good thing. It gives it more torque resistance and a little bit more force as a gyroscope that drivers don't need, especially long-range drivers. They already got tons of meat on the rim. So basically what that means is these are better in the wind because your off-axis torque is not going to affect them as much as it would otherwise. Because of where we put the meat, it doesn't affect the high-speed stability of the disc at all in either way, and doesn't make it more stable or overstable aerodynamically. It makes it more stable gyroscopically, but that's what I already explained. But what it also attenuates the low-speed overstability. So the upshot of that is that they go straighter, and you can play with them with no wind. You can play with them in the wind. So you compare like a big bead putter to a whale, for instance. And the whale has same high speed stability as a big bead, but the big bead, when it slows down, is going to do a big crash, and the whale is going to have an attenuated crash like a putter instead of a big bead. And if you're playing with a big bead in the wind, you're pretty stable with it. If you're playing with a whale in a wind, you're even more stable with it. If you're going to throw a sidearm, a whale is the one to throw because it's got more meat in the rim, and it's going to forgive your little off-axis torques that you might have with a sidearm. Plus, it's not going to crash as much as some of the other discs. Wow, you're running it now.
Yes.
That was one take, by the way.
We got a new question from Dylan M. He says, as someone who's made a huge development for the sport, what was your thought process leading up to the creation of the beveled edge disc? To be more specific, did the idea just come to you after much trial and error, or was it a long process of calculating and analyzing?
Kind of both. The original idea that there was something there came to me in Chicago. It was in a North American Series event, a Whammo thing, playing golf there, and it was windy, and At the same time, I saw somebody throwing a Skyro.
Go, go, Skyro! Go, go, go!
Skyro's the name and flying's the game. Parker Brothers introduces Skyro, long-distance flying ring. Most anyone can do it, just a flick of the wrist, and Skyro goes and goes and goes. It's...
You watch the Skyro, when you're used to watching the Whammo disc go especially, and you watch the Skyro, it looks like it's speeding up. You know, it's not slowing down because your brain is, you know, translating it weird. But the thought came to me there that there must be something in between. But the actual process of coming up with a disc took, I don't know, like 6 months or 7 months or something like that. But I tested a lot of different models on a lot of different parameters, you know, shapes and stuff for the models. But before I was willing to bet on a disc in the marketplace. This is a haunted hole. You could probably throw it with a putter if you threw it real straight and you had a perfect shot, but nobody does that because that's hard to make it work. Yeah, so now that one's going left. Half the time it goes right, same shot, goes right, and then half the time it goes left. I'll bet yours does not go left.
Yeah, I normally use a T-bird on this one, and almost that same route you took, maybe 5-10 feet lower.
Yeah, well,
But that's normally what my shot is here.
you got almost a T-bird in your knee.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like.
All right, we got another question from Christopher L.
Christopher.
He says, when you sit down to design a new disc, how do you get started?
Coffee. No, I don't sit down to design a disc. I mean, I'm doing other things. Lots of times, it's not even a conscious thing, you know. Somebody says they want a disc, like UC, Disc Mania or something like that. I want a disc that does this. Okay, I've got that thought in my head. I can go to sleep, and it a lot of times just comes to me while I'm sleeping, and know what to do, and I go there. It's not like I'm fiddling with stuff. It's all in my head until I go to the CAD camp people. Or not.
Ben W. asks, I would like to ask Dave, what was the most challenging and rewarding flight path to create? What was the process of carving a new curvy flight path on the fairway? Side note, he loves the leopard Frisbee.
Well, that's the disc that actually came to mind when he was asking that question. The flight path that I think is, besides a dead straight flight path, which I think is that's the standard for all discs, no matter what the category is. But another one that's really interesting to me is the late turn. Not the flippy stuff, but the one where you throw it out and it's like 2/3 of the way down the fairway and then it's turning. That's Leopard 3 does that, and that's cool, I think. I've seen, there's other discs that can do that too. I've seen Eric doing it with the FD, you know, which he's pretty magic, but probably the only driver he should ever throw. You know, you can do all kinds of neat things with that. That answers the question.
Another question from JJ Myers, and he's wondering how many disc models are typically under development.
Could be, I mean, it could be as few as 2, but it could be as many as a dozen that are under development at any one time. You know, it's almost never none. You know, there's always something in development. There's a whole series of development now. Stop thinking, dude.
Dilly D, and he's wondering what material are the molds made out of, and can you tweak the mold in the middle of a run?
In the middle of a run, I suppose. Made out of steel. Original molds were made out of aluminum, which is, at the time, was cheaper and ran faster because the heat conductivity was easier to get the heat out of the disc through the aluminum mold. But they don't last long enough. You know, the original Aero was a aluminum mold and the Ego was aluminum. But we use steel now because you can get many, many, many more shots before you have to retool the thing. Would you retool in the middle of a run? I guess if the disc sucked, you know, you'd stop, take the thing out, put another mold in, retool it. But you know, that takes a while. You know, that's not instant because we don't do any tooling in-house at all. We have to take it out and we have to get in line with everybody else who's getting tooling done.
Adam asks, how is the molding process different for the swirly marble disc as opposed to standard runs?
Not going to tell you. If I told you, then I'd be telling everybody else. So I'm talking about the Whoa, you shot it. Now, are you going to go OB?
No, it should be right on the edge.
Yeah, you're good. Wow, you're way down there too.
All right, Dave. Jeff K asks, where do you believe the future will take discs in terms of design and speed? Will discs remain just plastic, or do you believe electronic components may become a factor?
Well, electronic components have probably already become a factor, and I'm not one in favor of that at this point in time. Although I understand the usefulness with the metrics and stuff like that, but you know, there was a rule for a long time: no metal components, nothing added to disc for a long time. It was there for a reason. You know, it's like this is just a disc, doesn't need any electronic components and stuff like that. It's interesting the data that you could get from the disc, like if you're filming it and you want the metric and stuff like that. But until that chip or whatever it is that you put in the disc is small enough, and it has to have a battery too, until that stuff gets to be a small enough, like it's a gram or 2 or 3, then I'm not in favor of it. Right now they're like, I don't know, 15 grams or something like that. That's bad. I mean, that changes the, hey, he's got my cutter. Nova, it's the same color too. Oh no, that's one of my older ones. And until they get that, you know, micro miniaturized battery and all, then I'm not in favor of it. There's always a recycling problem too with that kind of stuff. Unless it's removable, where you can take the thing off and then recycle the disc, and then that's a bad thing. If it's injection molded into the plastic, then you have a recycling issue, and I think it's too early for it, personally.
He says, hi Dave, what is the most difficult thing in designing discs?
Hi. I actually thought about this, and you know, all the different things that go into designing a disc, what plastic you're going to use and how you want it to fly and all this stuff. But truly the most difficult thing is, once I have done the CAD CAM thing, is waiting for the disc to be made so that I can go test it. That's the most difficult thing. That takes 6, 7, 8 weeks sometimes, and it's excruciating. Every time I finally get a disc in my hands to test, it's like Christmas. You know, it's like a little present. Like, get to go through it. So waiting is the most difficult thing. Oh yes! Don't film that one.
This truck I've got a question from Anthony Hall, and he's asking, is there any disc you regret making or wish you could redesign?
I mean now? Yeah, there's a bunch of them I redesigned, but regret making? Nope. I learned something every disc that comes out, and then if it's a mistake, I try not to repeat that mistake in future designs. Is there anything I wanted to retool? Sure, lots of them, and I have retooled lots of them. For improvements only. Oh yeah, baby.
All right, Dave, we've got a question from Matt T, and he says, do you think there will be a giant leap forward in disc technology or just small incremental changes? I come from a mountain biking background and remember when everyone thought a 29-inch wheel made no sense, and now that's all anyone uses. As a new disc golf player, I've seen the differences in discs while playing, but was always curious if some new radical design will revolutionize the speed, distance, or accuracy of the discs.
Well, I come from a mountain biking background too, and I have a 26-inch specialized bike, awesome bike, probably one of the best ever at the time. And yeah, 29-inch bikes are better. And people thought that the 26 was the way to go, but there was just an arbitrary size at the time, and they thought, okay, going to the 29, it's gonna be harder to get that wheel going. It's gonna weigh more, and it's gonna be worse around the turns and all this kind of stuff. Well, it is worse around the turns for the quick stuff, but for everything else, it is so much better, and especially rolling resistance. Most of the time you're rolling. You're not doing the little turns most of the time, where you might make up some time. You're rolling, and those things roll a lot better. But disc golf, the speed, distance, and accuracy. As far as distance goes, I think we're probably at the end of the road on that right now. We have very, very accurate putters, and we have very, very accurate mid-ranges. We're starting to get more and more accurate fairway drivers, but the long-range drivers, we're a long ways off for having really, really accurate long-range drivers. So that would be the development. A long-range driver that flies like a rock, or an atlas, if you know what an atlas flies, like dead straight until it comes down. That really is, I don't know what the grail, the holy grail of long-range driver is.
We got a question from Jeremy R, and he says, hi Dave, have you ever thought about making a putter with a more pronounced thumb track or a track closer to the center? Maybe take a pig and move the track in a centimeter, call it a warthog, potbelly pig. If so, I'll take 5 in R Pro Pink. Thanks, Jeremy R.
Hi, Jeremy. Actually, no, haven't thought about that. The thumb track is a two-feature thing to a thumb track. One is it's a grip, an extra grip for your thumb, but the other has to do with the flight dynamics of the disc. It acts like a airfoil. It's a spoiler at high speed, and the closer you are to the rim of the disc, the more that spoiler works. One of the original ones we had was what was that thing called before it became the Birdie? It was a
Piranha?
Piranha, thank you very much. The Piranha had a very small thumb track way out on the rim, and there's no way you could turn that thing over. And it just, when it got up to speed and the wind's going over it, it caught the track and it forced that thing to be stable. As far as that being a good purchase for your thumb, and putting it wasn't. Further in is a little bit better place for your thumb to go, and maybe even further in, but we don't have any desire to do that.
Brandon F, and he says, I'd like to ask Dave, what drew him to the sport of disc golf, what he loves most about the sport and his role in it, and what is your motivation or inspiration for the work you do?
Wow, that's a big question. If I can remember it all, what drew me to it in the first place? I played Frisbee like every other kid from 1958 to 1977, and we made up our own little games, hitting lampposts, for like a golf game, and playing catch, flat flip, fly straight, invent games kind of thing, the saying on the Frisbee, which was marvelous. But a girl I was working at the Employment Development Department, and a girl came in and told me about this disc golf course, Frisbee golf course, she said it was, at La Mirada. And I was like, what? I go, what? What? Yeah, they have a Frisbee golf course at La Mirada. I had to go see that, and went down there, and it was like, I couldn't believe it. This was awesome. I mean, I already like to throw Frisbees and stuff like that, but this is like, this is like all the stuff you get in golf without the expense. It was love at first sight for me. It draws me to it now. It's the same thing. It's just awesome watching the disc fly and having control over that. And of course, I get to make discs and stuff. That is pretty awesome, if you ask me. And like I said before, every time a new disc comes out, it's like a little Christmas present for me. You can film these. These are really good jalapeno pretzel pieces. I recommend them as a disc golf snack. Goes especially well with beer, which I'm not advocating the use of. Not opposed to it either.